Why is my camera video on the side? Hold on. Put it over there, I guess. That's weird to me. Hold on. I like moved all my stuff around and it used to like it's like mirroring what. Wait a second. See if I can flip my camera because I don't like it like this. Okay, that's better. Don't ask me why I don't lay like that. It's just weird. I'm not used to it there. Oh, thank you, Will B. Welcome. Thank you, thank you. Good to see you. Hey, Annalise. Hey, Devil. Hey, K Bryce. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Linda. What is up? What is up? Y'all can hear me good, right? Oh my goodness. Um. Oh yay, Jen made it. You fall asleep, Jen. It's okay. Hey, Avery. What's up? I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. So, oh my gosh, it's been crazy. So, y'all haven't heard about the Murdaugh stuff. Holy moly. I might have to read it from my phone though because I took screenshots of everything and I can't find a what's it called? Um the affidavit online. But let me see. Hoping somebody would have the document, like a link to the document. I have it on my phone. I'll just have to read it from my phone. All right. So, this is crazy. And I will say, unless they find something that shows it was like a payoff or something for these people to um put this out, I don't really know what's going to happen. It doesn't sound good at all. All right, hold on, let me get it. So the clerk of courts, this woman named Becky, she wrote a book like right after the trial, like instantly. And when the book came out, it it hold on, that's gonna bother me, that wire back there. Oh, well. When the book came out, they were a juror was very upset and came forward because they felt like they may have pushed a certain verdict so they could have a book. That makes sense. Yeah, literally right after. Which isn't a crime, but it's a little buster. It's a little iffy. You know what I mean? It's a little too soon. Hey, Risk. So, her name is Rebecca Hill. She told the jury when when people were testifying or murder, I think it was for when Murdaugh testified. She told the jury not to be fooled. All right, hold on. Let me back up a little bit. They Murdaugh's lawyers went and interviewed, like, depositioned all the jurors after that, and all got their opinions on how everything went down. Yeah, I think the claims do seem legit, which, uh, yeah, we probably will be watching appeals for the next 10 years, but this does sound, um, pretty legit. And if it's not legit, then there's some kind of weird payoff going on or something, but it's too many people, in my opinion, having the same story. So, while Murdaugh was testifying, Rebecca Hill, the clerk of courts, told the jury, "Do not be fooled by the evidence presented by Mr. Murdaugh's attorneys, which I understood to mean that Mr. Murdaugh would lie when he testified. She also, this is one of the jurors, I forget what number. She also instructed the jury to watch him closely immediately before he testified, including look at his actions and look at his movements, which I understood that meant he was guilty. Now, that one, it doesn't, yeah, a complete case of clerk stupidity. Now, that one is like, that one's okay to me because it could go either way, like look at his actions and this, like, you could, uh, you could go either way with that. So that doesn't really bother me, but a lot of the other stuff does that she does. Immediately after he testified, the foreperson, juror number 826, said Mr. Murdaugh was crying on cue. So I've heard that, I think they mentioned that the foreperson talks with her a lot behind the scenes. The foreperson, juror 826, criticized the former foreperson, juror 589, for handling Mr. Murdaugh or for handing Mr. Murdaugh a box of tissues when he was crying on the stand. Sorry if I'm looking down, but I'm reading from my phone. Which I don't think is a big deal, but he was crying while he was testifying about his murdered son, and the juror handed him a box of tissues, and then they were criticized for that. She told the jury, we cannot interact with Mr. Murdaugh because that is what the defense wants us to do. The jury frequently discussed the case during breaks before deliberation, which is not allowed. The judge says it every time, please do not talk about this on breaks and blah, blah, blah. So they're not really supposed to do that, and they supposedly were. The jury frequently discussed the case. Oh, wait, I said that. Toward the end of the trial, Miss Hill came into the jury room a lot. Miss Hill and the foreperson, juror 826, had private conversations on multiple occasions. The foreperson, juror 826, would tell the bailiff that she needed to speak with Miss Hill. Miss Hill would arrive, and then she and foreperson number 826 would go to another room and have a private conversation. The conversations typically lasted 5 to 10 minutes. The foreperson, juror number 826, never said anything about the content of the conversations. For example, she never communicated logistical information after those conversations. This happened 2 or more times, more frequently toward the end of the trial. When we began deliberations, Miss Hill told us that this shouldn't take us long, and that if we deliberated past 11 p.m., we would be taken directly to a hotel. So if they couldn't finish deliberating, they would have to go to a hotel. A lot of them drove from their homes and did not prepare for an overnight stay at a hotel. Additionally, smokers on the jury asked to be allowed to take smoke breaks, but they were told that they couldn't until they were done for the day or deliberating, which feels like, I guess, to them that maybe it was to rush them into a deliberation because people who smoke want to go out and smoke, especially if you've been sitting in court for a whole bunch of hours or whatever. Hey, Lori. Hey, Thumb. Hey, Nina. Yeah, they do make the White House seem normal. Uh, all right, and then here is another juror. Sorry, I have an itch. On August 6, 2023, Dick Harpootlian, Jim Griffin, and I met with juror number 741 in the case of the state of Carolina versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh at her home located at blah, blah, blah. I didn't realize he blacked out everything but her name at the beginning. So luckily I didn't show these, thank goodness. Even though he already blacked it out, he missed some spots, but I got it off of Lawyer I took screenshots on him because I like watching his coverage of it. At a meeting on August 6th, She indicated she would sign an affidavit. However, we were unable to arrange a suitable time and place. During the meeting, she relayed the following information to us: that during the trial, she witnessed the clerk of court, Becky Hill, come to the jury room, and Mrs. Hill and the foreperson went into the bathroom. After Miss Hill and the foreperson exited the bathroom, Miss Hill told the jurors they could not ask the foreperson questions. Several times during the trial, Miss Hill told the jurors that the media would want to interview jurors at the end of the trial, and during one of those conversations, she passed out business cards from media to jurors. Now, I don't know if that's allowed or not. Hey, Abra. Hey, the good Nanya. What's up? Nanya in the house. I don't know if you're allowed to pass out media cards. Like, I don't know if that's something you can or can't do. So I can't really comment on that. I've never. I mean, that may be allowed to like, to warn the, jurors this is what's gonna happen, so I have no idea, if that's okay or not, or if it's frowned upon or whatever. Um, she passed out business cards from the media to jurors, and at the end of the trial, Miss Hill told the juror that no one from the media wanted to interview her. Well, right before the defense put up their case, Miss Hill told the jurors. Mm, I think it said something about y'all are gonna like want to make a decision. Where is it? Well, I didn't get that part. All right. Well, anyway, the next one. During the visit to Moselle, juror 826, which is the foreperson, and juror this one, I guess, walked to the scene together. Then juror 826 began walking with the court of clerk Becky Hill. There were times when the jurors were not kept together, but were in two separate rooms. Blank noticed jurors talking about the case before deliberations began. Neither she nor juror number 785 joined in the conversation about Alex. As the jury was deliberating, she believes Judge Newman came to the room she was in and told the jury they would have to spend the night at the hotel if they did not have a vote. So, I mean, I don't know if that's like, isn't that a normal thing though? When you don't have it, like, when you don't deliberate, that you have to go to a hotel so that, I mean, I don't know. I thought that was, like, the standard thing, but maybe it's not. Yeah, it's like we're living in one giant crime, that's for sure. Um, let me see. Juror 741 was the first former juror to provide information that the clerk of court made statements to members of the jury about evidence presented during the trial prior to jury deliberations. Miss Hill's conduct was corroborated from other jurors and subsequent jurors. Yeah, I thought that was normal too. Like, I thought that that was like a, you know, like, they seemed bothered that they had to go if they didn't figure out a thing that they would have to go to a hotel, but I thought that was, like, standard. So, I feel like, I thought that there was a reason for that. So, nothing got they didn't get bothered, that, they didn't get interviewed, that they went straight to a hotel, so they couldn't watch TV, all that stuff. I don't know. Alright, so then there was a Facebook posted, uh, that got remember during the trial, one of the jurors got asked to leave over a Facebook post? Well, here's the crazy part about this Facebook post. So there was a Facebook post by this guy, Timothy something, who was supposedly the ex-husband of one of the jurors there, right? He had posted that they had talked about proceedings. And then he later went on Facebook and then posted that he was drunk and didn't mean to say that, and I guess said like they were drunk and talked about it and whatever. Well, that juror got kicked off the jury the next day. And here's the kicker. Her ex-husband never posted interviewed him. He said it wasn't him, that his Facebook page is something completely different. Hey, Lynn. It's Tim whatever, not Timothy whatever, Timothy Stone, I think it was. And that he never posted that or saw that post or anything of that nature. And then that juror also told Becky, like, hey, I never post or I never talked to my ex-husband. I have a what's it called? Uh she had a freaking protective order against him. So she would never be around him. And she said, I never spoke to him. I don't know why he would have posted that because I never spoke to him. Well, apparently it came out that this particular juror, when Becky Hill had asked her, like, "Hey, what do you think you're going to vote? Like guilty or not guilty?" And she said, "I don't know yet. I haven't made up my mind." And then the next day, this post came about. That was from some guy with the same name as her ex-husband, and they know nothing about it. So they like it. She felt like it was like set up to get her off the jury because she said that she wasn't sure if she was going to vote guilty or not guilty. Um, all right, so here is a one second, guys. Okay. Um, here is the affidavit from her ex-husband. He said, "I did not post anything to the Facebook group Waterboro Word of Mouth between January 23rd and March 2nd. I did not post anything." Sorry, I had to sneeze, but it went away. I did not post anything on the social media page or on my Facebook social media page about being a juror that was talking way too much to friends and family about the case, or that Satan had gotten a hold of me and I had been drinking at the time and posted that I was very sorry. So he's saying, like, I never did that. Yeah, it's crazy. And then he said, nor did I post that what is attached as Exhibit A, which has been represented to me to be an alleged post to the Waterboro Word of Mouth Facebook page and a court exhibit in the state of South Carolina, Richard versus Alexander Murdaugh. I do not have a Facebook page set up as Timothy Stone. My profile name is Tim Stone, and my Facebook page is this. Yeah, you're not, that's like so not allowed. That is definitely one thing you are not allowed to do, and I am sure of it. You cannot ask the jurors what they think their outcome is going to be or if they're going to vote guilty or not guilty. And when she said, I don't know yet, she felt like that, like it was like she was set up to get her off the jury. And then he's saying he never posted it. And she's saying she would never speak to him because she has a protective order against him. And then, um, hold on. He says, I was never contacted by law enforcement. I was never, I was never contacted by law enforcement, the South Carolina Attorney General's office, the clerk of court, Becky Hill, or anyone at the Colleton County Clerk of Court's office about Exhibit A, or a post to the Waterboro Word of Mouth Facebook page concerning my ex-wife. I did not know she was on the Murdaugh jury until I heard her voice on a recording when she was being excused as a juror and she was discussing something about eggs. Yeah, obviously, it would have. All they had to do was go. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't even investigate it. Like, why did they not look into this? Which is just crazy to me. Like, wouldn't you go and make sure that was her actual ex husband? Or if it was a fake account or whatever. I feel like this could have been easily solved. Um, So he's saying he didn't even know she was on the jury until she was excused. And then Okay, this is another juror. I was juror number 785 during the presentation of the defense case after President's Day, but before Mr. Murdaugh testified in his own defense. Colleton County Clerk of Court Rebecca Hill told the jurors not to be fooled by the evidence presented to the jury by Murdaugh's attorneys. So this is a second person saying the same thing. Hey, butterfly kisses. Um, I said hi to you, Lynn, right? Sorry, I was getting distracted. I'm just making sure I did. Okay. In late February 2023, Miss Hill questioned me about a Facebook post. Okay, so this is that juror. A Facebook post on the Waterboro word of mouth page. She summoned me to speak with her alone in an office in the courthouse. She told me someone emailed her about a post my ex-husband, Tim Stone, purportedly made, which purportedly stated that I made comments to him about guilt or innocence of Mr. Murdaugh. She directly asked me whether I was inclined to vote guilty or not guilty. I told her I had not made up my mind and that I wanted to hear all the evidence before deciding. Miss Hill said, the post said I had been drinking with my ex-husband and that while drunk with him, I expressed opinion on guilt or innocence of Mr. Murdaugh. That never happened. And I told Miss Hill it never happened. I did not go drinking with my ex-husband. In fact, I had not seen him in approximately 10 years. I asked to see the post, but Miss Hill would not or could not show it to me. I never seen it, and to my knowledge, no one has. Hey, Ava. Well, thank you. All right. Well, thank you for being here and listening, and hugs to you too. Yeah, I think the clerk of court definitely needs to be investigated, and this needs to be investigated because if she did this, it is unfair and it absolutely needs to be retried, even though it sucks for the people, who, want to see this justice, but still, it's fair is fair. If she did encourage this or push people to go a certain way, it's not cool. Okay, just making sure. Lynn. Later that day, Miss Hill told me Sled and Colleton County Sheriff's Office personnel went to my ex-husband's house and he purportedly confirmed he made the post. She told me she would reinstate a restraining order I previously had against my ex-husband. So, in a nutshell, she's saying that Sled went to his house and asked him this, and this never happened. Sled never went there. Carlton County Sheriff's Office never went there. And I feel like this would be an easy thing to figure out too, because they would know if they were there. I know, Linda, and it's scary because it's like, imagine if you were an innocent person and you were on trial. Not saying that Murdaugh's innocent because I don't think he is, but and that's just my opinion. But imagine you were an innocent person and you had somebody within the court system, push thinking that you are guilty and pushing people to do this. It is crazy to me and it's scary. Like I tell people all the time, there was this case that somebody I knew, her dad was convicted of killing this girl and they found purple flakes in his car which supposedly was the color of the girl's nail polish and they sent it to a DNA lab and the DNA lady had such tunnel vision that she sent the results back and said it was a match, but she either didn't test it or lied because it wasn't a match and the real killer killed two more people after that. So can you imagine even a person testing the DNA, having tunnel vision and wanting a case to be solved and saying like, "Oh, hey, it's a match," and not even testing it? Like there is a lot of stuff that can happen behind the scenes within court or, you know, law enforcement and it is terrifying to me. Yeah, definitely the financial. I mean, I still think he's going to be put away for a very long time for the financial crimes and all that. But still, this is bad. Yeah. She's supposed to be a trusted person, and she wrote a book immediately after, you know? Alright, so I did not know about the apology post referencing Satan until Miss Hill's book was published. I have since reviewed that post and can definitely state the post is not by my ex husband. He does not go by Timothy. The profile picture is not him, and the phrasing in the post is not the phrasing he would use. It appears to be a post by another person who happens to have the same name. It does not appear to be a post on the Waterboro Word of Mouth Facebook page. So here's what's crazy is I think this is the woman who brought all this forward because it would have she really believed that her husband has posted it. And then when this book came out, she read it and was like, "Oh my gosh, they were wrong the whole time and kicked me off the jury. This is shady as shit." So she calls and says, "Look, we got to look into this because that's not my husband." And I got kicked off a jury thinking that my husband had put up this post that was a whole ass lie, and it was never her husband. And law enforcement never went to his house, so it sounds very shady. And I'm glad she did say something if it is the truth, as much as I don't want to see this to go over again. It needs to, if that's the case. um, When Miss Hill first asked me about the Facebook posting reportedly made by my ex-husband, I showed her a picture of my ex-husband. For that reason, I now believe she always knew the apology post referencing Satan was not posted by my ex-husband. On March 2nd, 2023, the day of the verdicts, I received a call from my ex-husband, Tim Stone, as I was getting on the bus to travel with the rest of the jurors to the courthouse. I did not answer. This phone call upset me greatly, and I asked to speak with the clerk of court, which I did by telephone using bailiff Mr. Bill's phone. I told her I was scared. She said that Murdaugh's probably got to him. Miss Hill then again asked me questions about my opinion regarding Mr. Murdaugh's. So she sounds like she took this woman's situation and tried to, use it against her. Like, oh, I'll get you the thing reinstated if whatever. Miss Hill then again asked me questions about my opinion regarding Mr. Murdaugh's guilt. She asked if I was leaning one way or the other. I told her that Creighton Water's closing was good, but I still had questions. She asked me what kind of questions, and I replied, questions about the guns. She asked what would make me think he is innocent. I stated that no murder weapon was found. Then she asked, well, what makes you think he's guilty? I said, Paul's video at the dog kennels. She then stated that everything Mr. Murdaugh has said has been lies and that I should forget about the guns. They will never be seen again. Miss Hill then asked about the views of the rest of the jury. She told if the four-person would just go in and ask for a raise of hands, this would be over and done with. She said everyone needs to be on the same page. She then said she would reinstate a restraining order I previously had against my ex-husband and that she would call Judge Newman about the restraining order. I then went to the jury room. Approximately 10 minutes later, I was excused from the jury. During the proceedings, I asked Judge Newman if he had spoken with the clerk of court. He said, this is not because of your ex husband. 2 weeks later, I did answer a call from my ex husband. I angrily confronted him about the post he purportedly made because I knew I had not made the comments. I knew I had not made the comments claimed I made. He emphatically denied ever making any such Facebook posts, and I generally seemed not to know what I was talking about. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I believed it at first either until I read it. It was like, oh my gosh, there's several jurors all saying the same thing. And now it makes sense. At first, I just thought maybe it was like one juror that like felt some type of way, but this makes sense why this woman would come forward and say this because it's like, you know, after she saw her book in that post, she was probably like, wow, so she knew that really wasn't my husband and she still went up with it. So that's shady. You know what I mean? I get it now. Like I get why she would go forward with that after she read her book and seen that post. One On one day during my jury service, approximately 1 or 2 weeks before the verdicts, jurors 864 and juror 826 were in a single toilet unisex bathroom together for an extended period. They were known to do so frequently to discuss the case. Juror 729 referred to it as A and D time. What does that mean? In the van going to the courthouse, juror 864 and special agent David Owen lied on the stand, said Special Agent David Owen lied on the stand, but nothing would happen to him. When we visited the Moselle crime scene, Miss Hill and juror 826 walked off together, according to other jurors, in order to have a private conversation. It's like, guys. Okay. I own a rental property which I lease to two tenants, Deborah Webb and oh, I didn't mean to say that. Sorry. Why did they not cross this out on another person? On Saturday, February 18th, 2023, I delivered a refrigerator to the property. I was removed from the jury on the day of the verdict because a co-worker of Miss Webb reportedly said I expressed an opinion on Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence while delivering the refrigerator. Miss Webb then worked at a Domino's Pizza in Walterboro, so the co-worker would be the same employee of Domino's Pizza in Walterboro. I do not know whether Miss Webb actually made such any statement at Domino's Pizza or whether a coworker actually heard any statement. After I was dismissed from the jury, I spoke with Miss Webb and Mr. So and so. I'm not saying his name because I said her name and I didn't say his name. I don't want to put people's names out there. Uh, They both vehemently stated to me and my husband that the affidavits the prosecution drafted for their signature was not what they said to them. They told me Sled showed up at their house at 10 p.m. after they were asleep, removed them from their home, and put them in separate cars and questioned them. Mr. Mr. So-and-so said he told them I did not say anything about Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence, and Sled returned 30 minutes later again, woke them up from their beds to serve subpoenas on them to appear in court the next day. They arrived at the courthouse at 9 a.m. the next day, and they were held for 9 hours until 6 p.m. when Sled officers or a prosecutor finally presented typed affidavits to them, saying they were statements from the previous night. They had been recorded by dash cams in the patrol cars. They said they signed the affidavits without reading them. As I previously tested, why would somebody sign the affidavits without reading them? I mean, I guess they assumed that what they actually said was in there, but what if they did read them? You know what I mean? Why would I don't know. That's weird. That I don't know if I believe that. They arrived at the courthouse. Hold on. As I previously testified, I never discussed the merits of the Murdaugh case with Miss Webb, Mr. D, I'll call him, or any other person present, nor did I express opinion. And I think there's one more. Juror 326 asked Miss Hill, who later told the jurors not to let the defense mislead them. Juror 326 was asked if Miss Hill told the jurors not to let the defense mislead them, and he said not specifically recall the statement, but he did recall that Miss Hill commented to him and the other jurors about the photos that would be admitted into evidence, indicating that the images would be disturbing. Yeah, I agree. If she has made a lot of money from this, it should be, she should not be able to get it, in my opinion, if she did this stuff on purpose. Juror 326 also stated jurors were stationed in two separate rooms when they were not in the courtroom, and that he was in the room with mostly other male jurors. He was not in the same room as jurors 630, 741, and 785. He stated that Miss Hill would visit the other room more often and that he could not hear what she was saying. During the trial, juror 326 often discussed the case prior to deliberations. He did not discuss the case with anyone outside of the jurors. He further commented that some of the jurors were going into the office because of financial reasons and that people were talking to coworkers because coworkers wanted info. Before deliberations began, Juror 326 indicated that minor conversation led them to know who was a yes and who was a no. His vote changed with new evidence. As the juror was deliberating, the bailiff and Miss Hill told the jurors that smoke they could not take a smoke break during deliberations, and there were 6 smokers on the jury. After the trial concluded, that's a lot of smokers on one jury. After the trial concluded, a group chat was formed with the jurors, but juror 326 dropped off the group chat because there were too many chats. When asked if he thought the clerk of court, Becky Hill, was inserting herself in the case, I cut it off before then, but I'm guessing that he probably said yes. um, yeah. Yeah, read anything before signing, for sure. Read anything before signing. So, that's pretty crazy to me. Um, I do think this is gonna cause a huge problem, and, we'll see. He's probably if this all turns out to be legit, I think they're gonna have another trial. I don't I'm shocked. I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're getting paid off or something," until I started reading this, and now, once I read this, I was like, "This is concerning, for sure. Definitely concerning." Okay, so, also, I'll do BTK next, and then I'll go into the Danilo, Cavalcante stuff, which is crazy. He lives or he's not sorry, I live very close to where this all is going on, the Danilo stuff, the escaped convict. I'm like 20 minutes from there. I'm if if it's still going on throughout the weekend, maybe I'll see if I can go get some coverage, but I don't think they're allowing anyone within the search perimeters. But he's been seen pretty close to Westchester, PA, like Chadsford, Westchester. He's been seen at Longwood Gardens. Um, he's in that area, and it's so close to me. It was funny because me and Dave were talking about it earlier, and I was like, "Man, $20,000, like that could change my life. Let's go looking for this guy." And my son comes up to me and he's like, "Mom, if you go looking for this guy, he's a killer. You need to take uh." I have like this big katana in my back room. Just as like it's a real katana, but I don't ever touch it. It's just I've been done had it. And he's like, "You need to take the katana and make sure you take Dave with you." Yeah, it's crazy. I'm gonna cover it after I talk about BTK, but let me talk about BTK before I go into that. So, if you have been living under a rock, this is pretty crazy. So, BTK, Dennis Rader, the serial killer, find, torture, kill. He's the guy he's serial killer who committed a bunch of murders over a time period between like 1970, the early 1970s to mid 1990s, and then he just stopped. And then he started taunting the police and sending stuff to the police, which ended up leading to his arrest because he sent a floppy disk to them and they were able to go in the metadata. And in the metadata, there was a name Dennis, and there was a location of like Christ Lutheran Church or wherever church he went to. And when they looked into the church, he was the president of the church that they were talking about. And then they did like a search warrant on his home and they found a bunch of stuff, including photos of him reenacting uh, the victims' deaths, drawings. I believe they even matched his DNA to some stuff. They found pantyhose. Yeah, the darn metadata. Always get them, right? Who knew you could get metadata from a floppy disk? Like, I would think you couldn't get it from a floppy disk, so that's wild to me. Hold on, I'm gonna take a sip of my drink real quick. Okay, let me show you. But anyway, his daughter, Carrie, share it with you. She has done a lot of interviews lately. Uh, she is asking for the public's help. They believe that there is more victims that he had. He has she's sharing some artwork that he drew, and they're trying to see if these people can be identified. They give like an area of where he operated in and some of the photos. So okay, here she is. I'm gonna share my screen. All the way down so you can have an idea of where this all started. And let me tell you guys, I have been looking into every single cold case, murder, um, missing people in all those areas, trying to find ones in those date ranges and seeing if I can find some stuff. And I have found some ones that I feel like could be applicable or whatever you want to say, like that could work. Um, all right, so here's the one drawing. Let me see if I can make it bigger. I might have to save it so you guys can see it better. All right, so here is one. They believe it's like inside of a barn or now. I saw someone say that she colored it to make it easier for AI to like make a picture of it, but I'm not sure if he colored it or she colored it or whatever, but the girl is sitting trigger warning guys, so let me just tell you. I mean, this one isn't too bad, but there's a lot of bad ones on here. But there's a girl who is sitting on a bale of hay. Um she looks fairly young and she's, tied up around the legs, knees, and her hands behind her back and a what looks like a bandana maybe in her mouth. Yes, she is an amazing, strong woman for sure. So that's the one. And then let me show the other one. Now he often drew pictures of his crime scenes, and then he would also like after uh, murdering someone, he would take their clothing or things, took things from them, and then would wear it and reenact the murder and would take pictures, which is crazy to me how this man could like duct tape himself and all that and still be able to take pictures of it. These were drawn in the 90s. She believes circa like 1991-ish. Like that's when like when she believes it was done. Hold on. I'm gonna try and get a darker version of this one. Give me a second. This might be big enough for you guys to see. Hold on. Okay, so this one to me, at least, it's kind of hard to see, but it's a girl laying what looks like to me on a hayloft in a barn. Like Um, like on a in barns they have like the upper lofts where they keep the hay, and then they have these posts that go around to hold the thing up. And she looks like her head is tied to the post with something, and then she's bound on the legs and knees similarly to the other photo. And there's like a bale of hay to the right there, if you can see. And then this looks like a tarp to me. It's hard to see how I show you, but it's kind of like a like this, like a little triangle end. He also wrote things down like it was a bad day at the car wash. No, no, no. He wasn't drawing them down. These are ones that he drew back in the day, and they're trying to find more victims and trying to match up with like pictures he drew um to victims, because they never matched these pictures up with anybody. Like these, they couldn't identify who they were. Um so they believe they do have um possibly the identity of the barn girl with the green top. BTK. I'm going to talk about the recently escaped guy after BTK. I gave a little, just was talking about the escape guy for a second, but I'm doing BTK before I go into that. I'm gonna show the escape guy at the end. Okay, Nina, that's cool. So, um, they think this is a livestock pen, probably at night, because of the blackness. So I'm guessing he colored it because people are saying she colored it, but I don't think she did. Hey, Mystic, what's up? And they believe she went missing from southeast Kansas in 1991. So, what was the girl that I saw? Hold on. I found this girl and I was like, man, this might be a connection here. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. It was a blonde chick too, but she was a little older. She didn't look as young as this picture. I think her name was Nancy something. Where is it? Because I was looking through tons and tons of missing persons, and it was a Kansas one that I found. Now I can't find it. Is it? Nope. I'll find it. But I took a bunch of pictures of people that I thought fit the description, you know what I mean? Because I was going through tons of uh, different cold cases, and I had found a woman that I felt like fit the description so well. I think her name is Nancy something, but all right, so that was Green Dress Bar Girl. Here's another one. This again looks like a girl in a livestock pen, uh, possibly in a red dress with brown hair. Yes, it's super spooky. It's crazy. She looks pretty young too, maybe about 12. Um, and then they did like an AI thing for the girl on the top of the hayloft. I think she could have looked a little bit like this. Alright, so they're saying they believe this woman had wavy, curly hair tied back in pigtails. She wore makeup because her mascara was smeared, which I guess you could see, yeah. She had a pointed chin and a heart-shaped face. She was young and petite. Her name will be known. She will be remembered. So that's what they think she looks like a little bit. And then this is another one they think maybe connected Carol. And I wonder if they think this was the chick in the blonde hair because she kind of fits the description of the chick in the he's a Pisces. Oh, I didn't know that. Um this kind of fits the description of her maybe. She was 18-year-old. She disappeared shortly after speaking with an unidentified male in a dark colored pickup truck with a shell. One of the individual was charged with One individual was charged with aggravated battery in connection with her case. He stated he did not SA Carol and did not mean to cause her death, but that he was unintentionally responsible. She was a vibrant young woman with her whole life ahead of her. Despite struggles with substances, she kept a solid relationship with her mom, Sandra. Her legal name was Carol, but she wanted to spell it with a K. Um, know if that's connected or not, but I guess maybe someone thought she looked like her. I don't know, but she reposted that. But there was a woman that I found that she went missing. I think Arctic Fox True Crime. Oh no. BTK? I'm not. Oh, the guy? No, I'm not hiding the escaped convict. Hell no. He stabbed his girlfriend 36 times. You think I would hide him? I'd be terrified. Um, so I found this girl. I think her name was Nancy, but I'm not 100% sure. And she went missing. Her boyfriend said she walked outside to talk to this man and never came back in. And that she was young. She had blonde hair, but it was all like 80s up, all like poofed up. Um, and they never figured out what happened to her. And I thought that that could have been fitting. And Arctic Fox True Crime, he covered her. I can't remember her name. It's like Nancy something. Because when I started looking for her on YouTube to see if I could get more information, yeah, I'd only hide my friends. Yeah, I would never turn them in. They think it's in a cattle horse rodeo type pen. We have a solid ID of the victim. They just need help of the location. So they think they know who it is. They just need to figure out where that is. So if she was taken from southeast Kansas, I'm assuming that maybe it was a barn or a farm around there. There's a lot of old farms and stuff that were destroyed though. So uh, you would probably have to look through like, you know, old property stuff to find the area, unless it's still there. Um, okay, so this is the area. This is the area they need to focus on. They said, uh, looking at between 1963 to February 2005, which is when he got caught for Barnes, all of it, Kansas City, West Wyoming, Northeast Arkansas, and Northwest and North Oklahoma, I guess. I think we're about to put Northwest and Northeast Oklahoma. Uh, So this is somebody who shows like a hayloft. So you can kind of see it's very similar. I know I shared, hold on. You put like a post up asking I'll find the person. All right. Anyway, I'm going to stop my screen because I want to show some other photos, which I will have to give y'all a major trigger warning for these as well. And I gotta send it to myself. But in a nutshell, he there's also some photos that he took of himself that they are sharing. I think it was on News Nation. I might be able to just pull up News Nation real quick. But he took pictures of himself, like dressed in woman's clothes. Hey, Tony. No, like Nancy Street or something like that. Yeah, you would think, but I feel like, that's his way of like keeping control a little bit, you know what I mean? Is like if he does have some you know, things he could keep to himself, it's like his way of having control still in a way, you know? Thank you. All right. My Buster's mom. I appreciate you hanging out. I'll talk to you, I'm sure, soon. Hold on. Let me see. New station posts stuff so freaking often that it takes me a minute to find it. So give me a minute. Whoever is putting out these videos, man, they're like back, 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 back. It's like 3 days ago or 2 days ago, I think. Mhm. Here we go. I may just, I was gonna mute it, but all right. Trigger warning, guys. Hey, MK. All right, so this is BTK right here. Now, what he would do is like after he would murder someone, he would have like killing parties. You know what I mean? Where he would have a party where he would like shortly after he would murder someone, he would dress up in that person's clothing or stuff like that and reenact like how like what he had done to them, like dressed on himself. So hey, Willie Weed. Trigger warning. These are uncomfortable for sure. If you have to leave, I understand, but it is. Yep, she's wearing white again, Risk. She loves white, man. Yeah, he's a total psycho. All right.
And makeup bound in chairs, um, lying like this out in the woods somewhere. It's discussed by many of the experts and detectives that he was.
Can y'all hear her? Like, is the sound on? There's another one. See how he, like, it even looks like this one. It blows my mind how he was able to take, like, put himself in these positions himself and take photos of it. Like, how do you do that to yourself and take a photo? It is beyond me. Like, I can't even take a photo not with things wrapped all around me, you know? Like, I have a hard time taking a selfie without being like that, but how do you tie yourself up, uh, like this and hang yourself from a tree upside down and take a photo? It blows my mind, but right? Right.
On scouting trips when he did these things, hoisting himself up in trees like he did to his victims. And then these party pictures in motel rooms. This one in particular, Carrie Rawson is going to discuss with us in a moment because there's a lot in there that she recognizes. That's her grandparents.
Sorry, I didn't realize it was muted. That one was in her parents' basement or his parents' basement. They were often like vacationing for a selfish stick. um it is bizarre, right? He looks like he has pantyhose over his head on this one and is buried a little bit. Like, how do you
Basement. Um,
so there was
so what's
one
critical though is
where
the details that we now know
I
from
also
pictures
found
we didn't really think about.
so that looks like a tarp and he's got like a woman's bra on and a skirt and her underwear down possibly.
Almost 20 years ago. I want to bring in Carrie Rawson right now. She's live to discuss these. Carrie, you've seen a lot more of these pictures than we have.
That's
You've seen
BTK's
a
daughter.
lot of
Doesn't she look
pictures
just
that
like
the
him?
public has never seen. What haven't we seen? Can you describe for me what you've seen that we haven't?
Oh, good evening,
This is
Ashley.
creepy too, like super
This is
creepy.
probably only about a handful of pictures. When I flew into Osage,
I'm
they
sure he
started
has a
showing
bunch
me
more,
all of
by the
my
way, too.
dad's records. There's probably about 200 bondage photos that my dad's taken. It's really important first to note that they're taken by my father. They're Polaroids. He uses a cord. He came up with a system. He carried this stuff around. He did these at hotels. He did these in
So she's saying that he did have some kind of system where he could take pictures of himself, which I believe, yeah, I believe all the stuff that he had was actually from his victims, and he would steal it. Because I know the one woman that he killed, she was missing her nightgown, and then he was wearing the nightgown in the photos. Oh yeah, it's definitely creepy. I think it creeps everybody out. It's bizarre.
churches that he broke into. He did them in our church. He did them in my home when we were gone. Uh,
So she could recognize the areas in the photos. Some were at his church, some were at their house when they were on vacation with their mom, some were at his parents' house while they were gone.
he actually did one in my college dorm room when I was out shopping with my mom in August of '98.
That's
You can
wild.
match what he's
In her college dorm room.
doing with his journals. He's digging. So what the public is not seeing is evidence right now in these cases because he's reenacting actual crime scenes, and we're trying to match up now missing persons and murdered with possibly these photos. And he's wearing victims' clothing in some of these, and you can match them with
So
timeline.
I'm
And so we're
guessing
seeing,
that these
like in Garber's case,
specific ones that they are showing are ones that they went through a lot of his photos and they were like, okay, this one goes to this person because that's her outfit. Yes, Diane, basically he's a cross dresser too. But they would be like, this goes to this one because that's her outfit, and this goes to this one, but these particular ones that they're sharing with the public, right? MK? um, like they haven't matched these particular ones up. So they're sharing them in hopes that somebody will recognize a piece of clothing or a blanket or, something to, you know, match up the victims and they can identify them somehow.
we believe, was murdered or at least dumped on Halloween in 1990. A few days later, he goes and does a big bondage in a church in West Wichita. And we believe, based on his bondage choices in that photo, that it's a series too, where he's reenacting several things that happened to a victim, and he's wearing bindings that match Garber, and then there's a blanket that's missing from Garber, and we think it was
Oh, let me also, Shanna Garber. She was, um, she is somebody they believe that he killed, and, they are trying to match, her, like, they believe her outfits and things like that look similar to ones that he was wearing. So, Shauna Beth Garber was known as Grace Doe after her body was discovered behind an abandoned farmhouse in southwest Missouri in 1990. Investigators gave her that nickname because only by the grace of God would they be able to identify her. Someone had hogtied her in 6 types of bindings, nylon and lead ropes, coaxial and telephone cables, paracord, and clothesline, and then brutally murdered her. Her killer has never been caught. In April, Graystow got her name back thanks to a DNA analysis that linked her to a long lost half sister. Now, for the first time in 30 years, the boy who allegedly discovered her body has come forward to speak about what he heard the night she died. In a 2012 interview, retired Detective Lori Howard mentioned a story about a 10-year-old boy who may have discovered Garber's remains before a local couple reported finding the body on December 2nd, 1990. Howard, who reopened the case and worked on it for years, said she was not able to locate the boy. She also said she had heard a story about a group of people who heard a scream on Halloween night. Frustratingly, neither the boy's name nor that of his parents was ever recorded, and nobody remembers who they were. It would be a great advancement for the case if we could find that boy. Now, of course, a man. The man I spoke with last night said he is that boy, and he also believes he and his friends heard Garber's screams as she died on Halloween night. The young lady deserves her story uh, to be told. Oh, hold on. Nope. Trying to continue the article, and it's trying to get me to go on the web. Anyway, I guess the guy came forward, and oh yeah, maybe. Well, I'm not. That would be interesting if they did that. Like if they could get him caught later on now, to like new cases. So I found another one. All right, so in one of his pictures, he looked like he was wrapped up in some plastic, and I found a case of a Jane Doe. Let me see if I can find it. It's like a picture of it, but it was something Doe. And a couple had been picking pecans in a field and found someone wrapped in landscaping mesh and tied with cords, which kind of resembled the one photo that I saw. So I was like, it wasn't plastic, but it was like landscaping mesh could come in like light colors as well. It's usually black, but it can come in light colors. So I was curious that maybe um it could be related to that. Second, I'm trying to find that girl's name. Or what the she was something Doe, obviously, but I'm trying to find here we go. Dora Doe. If you look up Dora Doe, it says on October 23rd, 1994, a couple from Arkansas who were spending their Sunday evening picking pecans came across a grisly scene. The body of a female wrapped in plastic landscaping mesh. So it was plastic, so you could get it in clear. The body was located in Sequoyah County along Highway 640 and was roughly 30 feet from the road. The landscaping mesh had been secured around the body with rope, and it's believed that the remains had been there for approximately 6 months as the remains were severely decomposed. Her partially remaining hair was gray and dark, straight and short, cut in a crew cut style. So she's known as Dora Doe. I'm not sure. I don't think. Well, no, it wasn't known in the 90s because he wasn't caught until 2005. So it wouldn't have been until way later that she came forward and was trying to help. Because they believe that the drawings that I'm showing were drawn in the 90s. Like they believe um the crime was committed in the 90s. Anyway, let me get.
Under dad on that bondage, and he literally had that blanket in our house, and then he took it camping, and he literally covered me with that blanket when I was cold.
How gross is that?
It's hard to even believe that you're having to relive this, and I think public should know that they should be thankful that you're doing this with law enforcement to help them and inform them of what you know and give the information that you know. Let me go through some of the
How
photos
creepy is
specifically.
that,
I
you
want to
know?
start with the first one. I'll
Yeah, the
ask our
barn thing is
control room if they
creepy
can
too.
just
So
put up the photo
obviously
that's
with the
called the
barn thing, I
sand
think he
photo,
did
because I
kidnap
want to
some
ask you
girls and take
about
them
what
somewhere,
you know regarding the
rather
location of
than
this
because most of
photo.
the time,
Well,
if y'all don't know anything about BTK, most of the time he worked for ADT, which was a security company. And what he would do is go to people's houses and he would cut the phone lines and all that and you know, then go into their house and kill them. But um I think it's pretty evident too. Yeah, it would be pretty crazy, you know, a dark reality knowing your dad did that, but she tries very hard to help the police and get justice for the victims.
first, I know that shovel, that was our camping shovel that we used like for fires. I believe that's out at Lake Cheney. He would take us camping on a sandbar. He didn't like to camp around people, and I didn't understand why. Because as
What
a
is
little
around
girl,
it? Like a
you want the
tent?
public restroom and stuff. My mom didn't ever camp, so it was me and my older brother, and we would go to bed, and he would do this bondage, and that's a sandbar out at Cheney, I'm sure. Now, one of the questions about that one is we don't have any confirmed cases of my father burying anybody. Why is he reenacting a burial? It's very concerning because we have some women
Yeah.
that we
See, that's crazy too, is they have never found any cases where somebody was buried, but here he is reenacting a burial, which is strange. So, you know, they believe that there may be more because this doesn't match up with any of his victims. And that's what he did with other victims as well.
think have been buried. Project Prairie, Hayes, 1983. We're looking at her as a burial. He talks about burials with Dr. Ramsland. He even talks about digging a grave in 1990 when he was out in Hayes on the census. Yet he says that he dug a whole grave, but then he had to call my mom like to check in. Like, come on, like you dig a grave and then you don't put somebody in there. So we have to go
Yeah,
figure all of these things out now.
very strange
The
that they
second
haven't
photo is a
matched that
photo
up. Like,
of
there's
a
definitely, I'm
wrapped
sure,
body, and I think
other
that
victims.
you have
'Cause they
mentioned
only have about
before that it was taken in a
they've
church.
only
Is that
know, I
true?
think of, let me see how
Yeah,
many
but
there
that's
show.
actually
See, this is
dad
the picture
there.
I'm talking about. Um, how he's, like, wrapped in plastic and there's rope wrapped around that. I feel like that would that could be, um, Doe, right? Like the one that I read about how they were like that could pass for plastic landscaping mesh, right? I would imagine because I know they do. I made sure to look up if they had clear plastic landscaping mesh, and I'm curious if that could be her. Like it's around the time frame. It's in the area. Um, it fits the MO in that photo. So that's the one that I found that I feel like could, work.
Now somebody can fact check me and I'll reconfirm it, but that is actually dad That could be Mrs. Hedge, but I believe that is Dad actually pretending to be Mrs. Hedge. He took Mrs. Hedge, our neighbor, down the street. He murdered her in our house between my house and my mom's parents' house.
So she thinks this is a reenactment of the murder of her neighbor. Um, but I believe there was another one that's similar to this, another picture that looked like it. Hey, Grandma Sherry, smooch.
In
Thank
85. I was
you.
6. He then took her in her car to our church at Christ Lutheran. He put her in a side room where my mom's choir robes were. He dressed her up in other bondage and took photos. They look different than that. As far as I know, my investigators have said that's my father at another church pretending. Again, we don't have any bodies that were found exactly
Oh,
like
this
that.
might, yeah,
So
this
is
is
there one
probably
that
at
we're
the
missing that
church.
looks like that? Because we can actually go and look at crime scenes. We do
There
have a
is another
recovered
one.
body, and
I'm
we can
trying to
match them.
find where the
And
one
we've
is
got
where that I
massive,
matched up with.
massive
There's
multiple
another one where
concerns, and this is a
he's
very,
wrapped in
very
plastic
ongoing, very hot
similarly.
developing situation.
And I feel like the Dorado
All
one
right, the
could
third
work. Now
photo
it's
is
just
the
a matter
photo
of
of
figuring
your
out who
father
Dorado is.
suspending himself, hanging himself from a tree. And I was wondering if
So
you
the
knew
one
of the
she was just talking
details
about,
in
her
these
neighbor, was Marine Hedge. 53-year-old woman. That was their neighbor.
in this picture that stood out.
Well, we're concerned about this one because, again, of his.
Sorry, KW. So, okay. So the first part I talked about Murdaugh, but then I went into BTK, which is, totally all over the place now. But BTK, the serial killer, back in the day when he committed murders and stuff, he would pretty shortly after the murders, um, reenact them somewhere and take photos of himself reenacting them. Now, his daughter is sharing some photos that don't match up. Like there's one where he reenacted himself being buried, and they don't have any victims that were buried. So she believes that there's other victims that they don't know about. So they're sharing some of his photos in hopes where they can match them to victims. And he also drew some drawings too of, what they believe are murders that he committed, which they're also trying to match up to find other victims. I was just saying that I had started looking up cold cases and missing persons in the designated area, which they're saying like um, Northwest Arkansas, uh, Northeast and Northwest Oklahoma, and Kansas are his, and Missouri were his, like, areas where he would commit stuff. Good question, K-Braze. I don't know. He has some kind of system. I don't know, but I thought the same thing. How does he take these pictures and do that to himself and get a photo of it? But they're hoping to find other victims. So his daughter, Carrie Rawson, if you can find her on Twitter, she's posting updates and asking for the public's help, and people are trying to help. Now, I found someone that it's a Jane Doe. Well, they call her Dora Doe. They found her off the side of a highway, wrapped in landscaping plastic and tied with a cord. I felt like that could have been his MO. So that is somebody that I found. And I found another woman who I felt like could have fit his MO too. But I'm trying to find her name because I know I shared it.
Cases, we don't have any entries, but we
I
do
can
have
look
some
now.
young children that were found in trees, and that is a victim's clothing. I would have to have my notes in front of me, or we would need to pull an investigator. And of course, these are active investigations. But if we know exactly that that slip is missing from somebody, or that person is missing, and they had that slip, or
The other person I was talking about was Tina Priest. So I felt like um this could have fit his MO too. So 19-year-old Tina Priest. Now Tina Priest is like this blonde chick with uh I'll look up a picture of her in a minute, but she lived in Lawton, I think it was Kansas. Where's Lawton? Or Lawton, Oklahoma, maybe? It's either Kansas or Oklahoma, I believe. Um, her name was Tina Priest, like Tenapreast. She went missing on August 4th, 1991, which would have been in the time frame that they're looking. She said around fall 1991, so I figured, it's close. She was the last time Tina was reportedly seen, she was leaving the house she shared with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend stated that an unknown man had come to the door, which we know he had stalked this one woman before and came and knocked at her door and cut her phone line and, killed her. An unknown man had come to the door and Tina went outside to speak with him. After about 20 minutes, her boyfriend became concerned and went outside to check on her, finding her gone. If she left on her own volition, she took nothing at all with her. While law enforcement has never directly named a person of interest, there are two in this case: the former stepfather of one of Tina's ex-boyfriends and a close family member. I will neither name these. So even though there is suspects, I feel like this could fit the MO and that the girl kind of looked like, it could be that blonde girl. If you want to look up Tina Priest, I will write it in chat so you can see a picture of her, but Um, I'm not sure where they were found. I know the daughter said something about she was looking for pictures of her cats and found them or something like that. I don't know. But I know she is I know I don't know if the police had them or she still had them. I don't know, but she's sharing to try and, help people find unidentified, if they are people, unless he just did it for fun and there is not other people. But yeah, true. Yeah, you're right, they don't need developing, so he could have just had those polaroids somewhere at the house. But still, it blows my mind that he could tie himself up in that way and put him in a tree and still be able to take these photos. But she does say that he had some like cord system that he set up to be able to take the photos.
Or we have a crime scene that looks like that. See that mask on him? He used that mask up until 91. Then he left it on Davis's body because he didn't like how she looked when he decayed. And so
So
that
that's how
mask,
she
so we
comes
know
like
that
the
is pre
91 thing, is
91,
that
and that's
mask
actually
had
fall
been
of
used till
90, right around
91.
the time of Barber. That mask comes into play there, and he talks about with Ramsland's book. He talks about being hanging himself in a tree with the sumac, and you see the fall colors, and that's out in west. That's out in. Excuse me, I'm sorry. That's out in eastern Kansas.
Is there anything about the socks
I
that
don't
he's
know if
wearing
I
that,
mean, it looks like it
stood out
could
to
be
you as
fall,
well?
but I mean, I feel like
Well, so
there's
in
only a
'05,
few
my law enforcement officers did not warn us about these bondage photos
leaves that look
after my
like that.
dad pled guilty, and my dad wrote us letters, and he said, "Look, a lot worse stuff is coming out. I'm so sorry." And he was actually more embarrassed about this, about the cross dressing and the dressing up and the reenactments. And when the
They
law
said he had like
enforcement
a cord
released these
system.
images in August
I
of
believe
'05
they were
at the
found in
sentencing,
his
and
home, like
we think they kind of did it just
in
to
his
mock
home
him,
when they
really.
searched it.
And you see in some of these his tube socks, he wore like sports socks with white with like the blue bands, and like of course I did the man's laundry for him by the time I was probably
She said
10 years
something
old and
about
up,
looking
and
for
so
pictures of her
like
cats, and
I
then
knew
she
those
found them, I
socks, right?
think.
I had washed them. I know those hairy legs, like, and then there's dad cross dressing and naked. I was 26, finding out dad had murdered 10 people, and it took me a very long time to process these. But now I'm able to help law enforcement like down to very minute
But
details.
he would
But that's
reenact
because I've
these
had a lot of
shortly
trauma therapy.
after the red things are sumac. Okay.
There's also the
Now, would
pantry
they be red at
picture,
any other
where
time of year?
he's, I think this that you've said he's in your grandparents'
Yeah, that's
basement
a
in this
grandparent's
picture, and it
basement.
looks as though
They
there's,
would go on
common pantry items
vacation
like
and
Charmin
stuff.
toilet paper, and but you recognize this?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
that's
he
my
had some
grandparents'
kind of
basement. His
corded
parents.
system
This
that
is
I
over on
believe
Seneca Street. right
he,
behind him
like
in the curtain.
he
You
would
see the
hold see
stairs
the
coming
cord
down right behind in
right
there. We would
here?
play hide and seek. Me and my
See
cousins
the
down in that
cord
basement. We'd
coming
turn off the
from,
lights and play hide and
hold
seek.
on,
It
right
was like the
here?
perfect place to hide. Now my grandparents stored extra stuff, and they were
He
gone
would
a
use
lot.
that
They were
cord to take the
snowbirds, so they would be
photos,
up
right
north
here.
and then
Can
down
you
south
see
in
my oh,
Texas, and
you
they'd be
can't
gone
see
for
my
months. And
mouse.
he would do
There's a
bondage,
black
and
cord coming from
he hid
behind his back,
evidence of crimes, including murders,
um,
at their house going back to the
going
70s.
across the
Now, this one
shelf.
is important because
Yeah,
he did this one
that's the
right
camera.
after Mrs. Davis was murdered. That's her slip and her stocking, and possibly and how she was bound. That could be her blanket. Now that blanket is different than the one missing in Garber. Garber has a darker black and red. This is a red and white. Okay, because we know he murdered Davis. We know those are Davis's clothes, and he did this right after Davis. If we go back a few months to the Sumac one, and we go
So they
back to the
really
Garber
think
one that
that
is not
Garber
public
is
because of
one of his
evidence in a
victims.
crime, we're very, very, very concerned because why do we have Garber missing? We have her bound a certain way. A few days later, he's going and reenacting that
And
murder.
you know that
I
that,
am going on record as speculatively saying if I was law enforcement, I
this
would have
Tina
arrested my dad a
Priest
week ago on
let me look
Garber.
up
All
Shannon
we need is
Garber really
DNA.
quick,
We have body stuff to test. We
'cause
need to
I
get it
feel
tested.
like
It's
they
the
kinda
FBI
look
or
similar.
somebody needs to step in. McDonald County is not doing their job. And I have no faith or trust in Lori Howard.
He doesn't trust
May I ask you just
oh, no,
about
Shannon
the
Garber looks
blanket
different,
in
never
that,
mind.
pantry photo that's in your grandparents' basement? You mentioned it's the
I wanna show you guys this
red and
Tina
white check
Priest girl, though,
blanket
'cause I
on the
feel
bottom.
like
There's
it
also
would,
what appears to be a blanket hanging behind him. Are either of those the blankets that you said you went camping with and that you would sleep he would
I
cover you
believe
with
he
or that
was
you would
like a
sleep on?
Boy Scout leader
No, the
too, and
green
that's
blanket
how
was
he knew
always
all
there.
do
It
all
was just
these
a kind
knots
of
and
covered
stuff.
area or something he hung up. That red and white one, I do not. That was not from
I
us.
mean, I could
It
do,
is
like, a deep
probably
dive
from
into all
somebody's
his, like,
crime scene, and then
murders
we've got to
and
figure out where.
everything like that.
The
Like,
blanket that we're talking about,
his
Shauna
first
Garber had
murder
a
was a
red
whole
and black
family.
blanket.
Um,
Now
it was
it looks
horrible what
different.
he
We've
did to the
seen it in
family. He
bondage
killed them
photos.
all, and this
That
little
the one
girl
is
was the
not
main
public
focus.
with Garber. That's
He
the one
hung in the
he took
basement,
camping,
and it
and
was
I can
awful.
still feel the
It was
material
just
and the
awful.
scratchiness.
She
Like
was,
he
like,
literally could have
12.
murdered her on it. He did bondage on it, and then he took it and
No, he
used
would
it with me
react
for
it would be,
camping.
like, a day or 2 later, he would reenact them at his parents' house or at the church. He was the president of the church, or at his own house, at his daughter's dorm room, outside. Like, I mean, I suppose he could have reenact them in the areas of where he committed the crime. Like, I'm not really sure if he actually brought people back to his parents' house, but whoever had the red sumac flowers was spring, summer. See, yeah, see, I was thinking, like, the one girl I saw, August 4th, 1991, I feel like that could have fit. Um, like she says, that one where you could see the cord, that was in her grandparents' basement while they were gone
Carrie, this
on
this is
vacation.
such difficult subject matter, and I know that you have
She
been
does a
working with
really
the
good
police,
interview. I
helping
think
law
it was
enforcement.
surviving
But are
the
you
something,
okay? Even
surviving
though it's been
the
18 years, are you okay processing this stuff?
let me find the name of the channel.
Well, as you know, because you've been taking care of me, like there's ongoing
Obviously, this
issues.
is on
Like
News
I
Nation. They
was
have a
notified
few
Sunday of
clip
an
a
old
few
crime
different
that's
clips,
new to me, and I just came
um,
out of the hospital from
on
COVID,
News Nation. I'm
so
just gonna
this
play
is
this
really
one
only my
because I
first day
felt
I've
like
been on
this one
camera.
was
I'd have to take things a little
surviving
bit at
the
a time, so
survivor.
I had to
They
process
do
what
a
I found out
very good
Sunday.
interview with Carrie
I
on
had to
there.
process some interviews during earlier in the week, and so I'm doing okay tonight. Um, well, like
Surviving the
I'll be
survivor,
okay,
yeah.
and then new information will come up, and so I just have to take that
So if you
time.
wanna watch a
And
good
so I just,
interview on
as a
there,
trauma
well,
abuse
Jennifer
victim, I literally just
Coffindaffer is
have
on
to be
there,
her, set
and
my
another
boundaries, and say,
woman, I
okay, guys,
forget her
I
name.
need a breather, and then I'll come back and we'll push this investigation, and I'll help you as much as I can. And so it's
But
really just being mindful of my own needs and
yeah,
advocating for
she
myself.
looks a lot like him, like, a
Are
lot.
you able to tell us about what you learned Sunday night, or is it too soon?
At right now, Sheriff Verdon told you on Monday that it's the Oklahoma case number 2, and that's all I can on record. I have to wait for my investigators because it's not an Osage County one, and so we have to wait for the county in Oklahoma. It's a very sensitive investigation, and it requires
I guess they can't give the
utmost
ID
protection.
of
And I will do everything to
that girl.
protect that
I'm pretty sure they
investigation with my
ID'd
life
her.
because it's so sensitive and so important.
Well, listen, Carrie, I'm very appreciative that you took the
Like
time to
the
talk with us
blonde
tonight,
one I
especially
showed that
since
was in
this
the
is such
barn.
difficult material. And thank you for the work that you're doing as well. We'll keep in touch. And do call us and let us know when you're able to. We appreciate it.
Okay, now let's go on with the last thing I wanted to show y'all, the guy Danilo. This is moving on from BTK, which I could do like a deep dive. But moving on from BTK, Danilo. How do I say his last name? Danilo. I think I have this stuff. Danilo Calvacante. He is he escaped prison. This is the second person who escaped the prison via the same way. He is in prison. He's Brazilian, I believe. He's in prison for brutally murdering his ex-girlfriend, Deborah Brando, in front of her children in April of 2021. I believe he stabbed her like 33 times in front of her children. And then he also murdered a man in Brazil in 2017. And he's on the run literally like 20, 30 minutes from me. So this is him. That is his ex that he murdered. And wait till y'all see how he escaped. This is some crazy-ish. Look at this. Hold on. He's got a lookout guy over here. This is the same exact way the guy who they just caught recently escaped. He crab walks up the side of the building to the roof and then sneaks out an unsecured um, area. I know. He has been all over the place. Like, back here. Just open a new thing. Oh, no. Where is it? All right, I'll just look it up again. He was seen on here we go, on trail cams at Longwood Gardens, which Longwood Gardens is kind of like an area with lots of plants and flowers where you can walk on trails. And in the wintertime, they decorate it all Christmassy, and you go visit it, walk through, and see all the Christmas lights and the pretty flowers. And uh, he was seen on a trail cam, several different trail cams walking through. So this would be day 7. Here we go. Here's him on the trail cam. Wait, did it go off? Did you guys not see that stuff? Oh, come on. It froze. Can y'all hear me still? I think it froze for some reason. Okay, I think I'm back. Where'd it go? There we go. So, that's him on the trail cam. Yeah, it's crazy. I was thinking maybe like over the weekend. I don't think I'll be able to get super close, but I can try and go, get coverage of like the manhunt. So there was a burglary alert that went out about 4 hours ago, and There's planes looking for him and helicopters circling the Chadsford area where he is. Here. Oh no, they're on him. They seen him. I think it was. Keep getting wrong ads. They're on him. They seen him. I think it was like last night in Longwood Gardens. So they have an idea of where he is. Like uh, there is a guy. Oh, little turtle. There is a guy that's following him. Hold on. A guy from the area. I mean, his name is like Nick something. Nick. This dude. Um, he's been going live around the area. All right, so here we go. Here's day 7 update. Previous evening sightings. Cavalcante was caught on camera twice at Longwood Gardens around 10:33 p.m. Monday. The search perimeter has been expanded to include this area. Police helicopters have been circling sections of the Brandywine River and creeks, presumably timing how far Cavalcante could get if using these water bodies as a guide. One is currently there. Um, Emotional plea broadcast around 4:30 p.m. yesterday. Helicopters played an emotional surrender message from Cavalcante's mother over Kendall Retirement Community. So they got a statement from his mother to beg him to surrender himself. Coordinated challenges. Law enforcement at local, state, and federal levels are expressing frustration due to separate audio radio channels and lack of area familiarity among some of the officers. Clarity is needed for effective coordination. School and public closures. Kennett Consolidated School District will remain closed today, as will Longwood Gardens. Creek relevance. The areas where Cavalcante has been sighted or believed to have been are connected by creeks, suggesting he may be using these waterways as guides. However, this strategy appears to be keeping him in a zigzag pattern around the vicinity of the jail. So I guess it keeps running him back around the vicinity of the jail instead of getting him further away because he's probably using the creeks as a guide to try and oh yeah, it's all over the news for sure. It's all over the news about him. And they definitely need to put some voltage. Yeah, you would think that, yeah, you think they would have fixed it after the last guy escaped the same exact way. Isn't that wild? Um, an emergency notification was sent out last night focusing on the Brandywine Creek area and Pennsbury Townships, advising residents to lock their doors and stay vigilant. And they are also um offering a 20K reward to anyone who gives information to his capture. So, y'all know this weekend I'm going to get my bounty hunter wig on and get my ass out there. 20K could change my life right now. So, I don't know. But he did also brutally murder 2 people. So, probably not a good idea. But I wouldn't be able to get anywhere near it anyway because cops are blocking off um, that search perimeter. So, So basically, they're just like pulling in the middle of the road and not letting people by. And then, if you live in the area, you have to stop and pull over, and they have to search your vehicle. Not really search, but like shine a flashlight in, and you know, make sure that nobody is there. So this guy, if you want to have somebody to like follow, I feel like this guy is pretty solid. He's keeping an eye on it. I will see if I can, this weekend get anything. So So apparently someone's saying a green station wagon and a description of a guy getting in it looks like Danilo, but I don't know. I don't know who would be crazy enough to pick him up. That's crazy. That he crabbed walk up that. He did it so gracefully too. Like there's no way uh right? What if I run into JLR? Oh my goodness. I mean, I couldn't get close anyway, but I interviewed for a job at the prison he escaped from. I turned down the job because the HR lady was clearly a narcissist and I didn't want to deal with that. Someone said. All right, here's an updated map of confirmed sightings. So, where's one? All right, so he escapes Chester County Prison here. Da-da-da. And then he's spotted by homeowner during a break-in on 9/1. I believe he like broke in the house and stole some clothes and some vegetables and flickered the light on. I shared the link for the Twitter. And then he was spotted on a backyard on a residential security camera. And then here he was photographed by trail cam on 9/4 moving north and 9:30 p.m. traveling south. So he's going north at 8:30 and then traveling south at 9:30. So he is going the wrong way. And then he was seen way over here on 9/5 at 6:30. So that's yesterday. So it sounds like he followed this river all the way here, and then he started following the Brandywine Creek this way. But that's just taking him almost back to the jail area. So I have no idea what this guy's trying to do, but he's all over the place. Oh, this is some guy who's following Danilo Calvacante's, like the guy who escaped from the prison. He is covering like his tracks. And this is super close to me, like half hour maybe, not even. Uh so I know exactly where this all is. Okay, so he spent most of the time traveling around Bennett's Run watershed. And then I guess he took that to the Brandywine Creek. Where's the Brandywine Creek? Here's Longwood Gardens. I think this is flipped around from the other one. Crazy. But as you can see, cops are everywhere. They're blocking off roads. They have right? They have all these areas blocked off and where they think he could be. He got pretty far in a day though. Like that would look pretty far to me. So, obviously he's super dangerous, but they're worried because he killed his girlfriend brutally, stabbed her 33 times in front of her children. And he killed another guy in Brazil. So this guy, um, you know, gives no Fs for sure. He scaled the walls and escaped via the roof. Uh, he couldn't confirm the presence of a suspected map in Cavalcante's cell, so I guess Cavalcante supposedly had a map in his cell, but they're not sure. Right? I mean, he climbed that wall so goddamn gracefully. I would be like, I mean, he went up like he has done this a billion times. Look at this. It's amazing to me. No issues at all. Just choo, 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 choo. Yeah, he may have hopped on a train, that's for sure. That could be true. Like a freight train. But it seems to me like he's trying to, like they said, use the rivers as or train tracks as a Spider-Man for sure, as a a map. And it's crazy. It's wild. They won't confirm or deny if he has family or support in the area, and he's reluctant to release too much info in case Cavalcante has a phone, suggesting the possibility, though unconfirmed, of assistance. So they don't want to put anything out there because they don't want to tip him off of what they know or whatever. Because then they're like, oh yeah, he's got a brother and a cousin, blah blah. Blah. Then it could tip him off that they're onto it. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But I'll definitely keep y'all updated on it. It blows my mind. Like it's crazy how he's totally evaded cops, helicopters. I'm sure they got the helicopters with that where they could see the heat signature. You know what I mean? Like how is he getting away? But if it's still going on the weekend, I'll see if I can you know, get up in there and go film a little bit, see if I can get anything for y'all. But I can't during the week because my son already, telling me, Mom, you better not go out there. And if you do, you better take this katana and Dave better go with you. So obviously I'm not gonna do it during the week. But when he goes to his dad's this weekend, maybe if he's not caught and I have time and they have another sighting, um, I'll see if I can get anything. But oh no, Lori. Well, I'm about to end it anyway, so have a great night at work. I'm sorry you have to go to work. But I'll be back and I'll be yeah, that's what I'm saying. He seems pretty small. That's crazy to me that I would be I'm 5'2" and I'd be sliding all over the place. I would not be that um graceful trying that for sure. I mean, he must be practicing that somewhere because that shit was so graceful. He looked like a whole I think Nerdy said it, like practicing his Avenger skills or something. Had me laugh. That's what I'm saying. 20 G's, that would change my life right now. I'm gonna go out there with my big flashlight shining in the woods, and find him. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna bounty hunt this motherfucker. No, but all right. Good night, guys. I will keep y'all updated, and have a great night. Have a great night at work, Lori. Thank y'all for hanging out with me, and we'll talk soon. Bye bye.